And welcome back to Bitcoin Advisors channel. And well, I hope you all have a wonderful Thursday. And with that said, a little bit more of a serious tone. We do have a war which just broke out, and throwing a little cut action in because I'm going to pull up the Zoom meeting. Here we go. Today is the 24th. So I'm going to jump in here and say today, yes, a little bit more of a serious tone. We should all be praying for peace out there in Ukraine because war just broke out, as I'm sure everybody knows. And it is very important to note we have some terrible dates coming up here in March in regards to inflationary concerns. Specifically, we have March 4th, the labor report. And we have March 10th, which is the CPI report, the inflation report. And it's unclear whether the March 10th CPI report will actually include February 24th's inflationary numbers, which we all know, oil just spiked to a record high of about $1.06 yesterday. So it really depends on when the Fed collects all the data. And it does say here that, senior U.S. military officials say that Russia has every intention of basically decapitating the Ukrainian government. That is essentially to say there is so much aggression expected that the president of Ukraine and the parliament of Ukraine would essentially be completely overthrown, overtaken. And, it says now the Ukrainian president says that Russian forces are trying to seize Chernobyl, which I believe is the largest nuclear site in history. I don't know why they'd want that place, but what else did I hear? Some kind of threats from Putin talking about putting up, internment camps and just some very aggressive things. And clearly, I think Putin has thought this out and thought about the sanctions that are coming. And, the Russian people are very strong people and they can put up with a tremendous amount of pain. So I think
their stock market took a big dive, like 30%.
Yep. Stocks are down 30%. And I think it closed down somewhere in the low 20s. And what else? Biden is set to make remarks about the sanctions here at 12:30 p.m. I believe that's Eastern time. And he is normally late getting on the teleprompter, so I wouldn't expect anything on time from him. Energy stocks are jumping amid this catastrophe. And, as we said last week, war is not going to be good for Bitcoin. If that does, war is not good for Bitcoin. Clearly, the whole market sold off there. And I do suspect the market is pricing in, the worst case scenario, as it always is, which is massively higher inflation and maybe even U.S. involvement in this war. And I think the thing that nobody's really talking about is, since Biden just kind of limp-wristed this thing from the beginning and could have put on sanctions and kind of showed other communist countries that were strong. Essentially, he showed our weakness. And, I think the United States, if they did get involved with the war in Ukraine, it's like perfect opportunity for China to come in and take over Taiwan, which, that's what they're looking to do. And who knows what other kind of nasty man-made viruses are going to be released from the Chinese or whoever else did it. So I think this is very concerning overall for Bitcoin. But what I would say is it really doesn't matter what Biden says today or does. What matters is well, it does matter what he says, but what matters most is the expectation versus the reality of what actually happened. So I haven't got all my thoughts together, and on this, and I don't know. Does anybody want to chime in? Rob, do you have any thoughts there on what the expectation is versus the reality?
Well, I know that the country as a whole is very leery of fighting a foreign war. It's like we've been through Iraq. We were misled with the weapons of mass destruction, and I feel like as a country, this isn't a battle that I think that with Trump, whether you like him or not politically, Putin would not have tried this with Trump, right? So I feel like, in the way the Afghanistan war played out. So what does that mean for the market? That is, didn't you saw precious metals go up a little this morning, didn't you, Chris?
Yep. And let's just say the Democrats are going to be having a hard time with the midterm elections coming up here. So again, we'll be covering this, keeping a close eye on it. Today, what's the real thing we want to talk about is we're going to go over Bitcoin. We're going to take a look at stocks, the dollar, oil, and some of the altcoins, which are absolutely getting shellacked and hit hard, like XRP and Cardano. But let's jump right into the charts because the charts don't lie. And I don't know why I've had crude oil sitting on the background here, but that's the main inflationary concern for everybody is, this crude oil and that how that's going to affect inflation. But let's just take a look at and this is the futures. Forgive me. I'm just going to take a fib retracement from this last consolidation to see what kind of targets we might have on crude oil. So we're already hitting the 1618 right there. That's usually your first target. Now, I would imagine we're just going to slice right through this like butter because I think Brent oil is already over 100. But, wouldn't be surprised to get a pullback here and come back down to the green 55. But ultimately, crude oil heading up to about $1.22 right there. And, in a more volatile market, these things can actually go higher. So I am looking for crude oil to take a nice leg up here. That's 30% higher than we're at today. Not bad for Mr. Crude Oil. But let's jump into Bitcoin's price action because I know that's why a lot of people are here. And let's just see. And the market is getting a bit of a relief rally. And something we did talk about over the past few days was open interest and how there wasn't enough really juice for the market to, take a major leg down, right? So open interest sitting at about 10 billion right now. We have been saying, hey, look, we want to see open interest around 13 to 14 billion before Bitcoin has enough juice or enough fuel in the tank to have a big momentous move around 25% or more downside correction. But and we did say that, hey, if this area gets taken out on a daily closure at we were talking about for the next big move is a daily closure above 46 or below 33. And that's going to give us the next big momentous move, at least down to 29,000, 29 to 30,000, somewhere in that range. Any kind of a daily closure back below there. But I am keeping an eye on this pivot right here, which is kind of our midterm pivot, which essentially if this area does break on a daily, that is probably going to give us our next move down to at least 33,000.
So Chris, that number's 36.7. Is that what you're saying? The mid?
Yeah, on spot price, it is coming in right here. And if you wanted to use the prior wick, it would be 36,300. So any kind of a daily closure below there is not going to look good. This kind of a candle right here, and we did say yesterday or 2 days ago, we were looking for some divergences to play out here. And we said if we got any kind of a daily closure above here, we would confirm this as a local low, and that would probably give us a drive at least up to the 21 at 40,000. But yeah, yesterday's closing totally reversed by the end of the day, and we did not take out that high with a closing higher, confirming this as a local low. So more downside probably, but we could get a nice bounce here because, again, open interest is sitting here at about currently coming in here at, and it's right here, 10 billion. So I'd just be keeping an eye on that. Let's take a look at funding rates as well and the leverage ratio here. So funding rates are slightly negative, which means you're getting paid to hold the long position. I don't know who's paying long, and you're paying. It's costing you to go short, which I imagine that's what a lot of people are starting to do right now. And then you got leverage. The global leverage ratio at 0.20, which it's at all-time highs essentially. So people are using a lot of leverage out there in this market, which says we could get a decent sized move. But again, we want to see open interest start to tick back up. Yeah, so what can I say here on Bitcoin is as this candle closes here, yeah, we could get a bit of a backfill, but this is more of a bearish type candle. I believe it's called a long leg upper shadow, which that is a bearish continuation candle. Let's look at momentum. Momentum will cross up with any kind of a closure above 35,286. So we are currently above there, and that would cross Stokes to the upside. And volatility is increasing. And what else do we have here? Bear with me just a second here. What else would I say is let's continue to look at some of the higher term time frames because some pretty nasty things are going to show up on the board here. And that is 5-day closure will cross down below 36,300. So as you can see, that pivot at 36,300 is very important. And if we do get a 5-day closure below 36,300, which we are currently below there at this point, that will cross momentum to the downside. You'll have volatility starting to expand, and you'll have, I don't know if there's any divergences here, but I don't think there is. Yeah, there is. And this is already played out pretty much. So you got this higher high in RSI. Oh, that is a higher high there. Okay. Yeah, no divergences playing out on the 5-day yet. What else to note? We had been talking about on our secondary chart. Last thing I'm going to bring up here is the monthly MACD cross to the downside. And let's see if we're getting it on CME. And we are getting it on CME. And this guy is crossing to the downside, and this has produced some very nasty breaks in the past, as Mr. Crown has pointed out. Going back on our longer chart here, whenever we have seen the monthly MACD cross to the downside, it has produced some very, very big moves to the downside. Let's see if I can point out the last cross to the downside. Let's see. So this guy right here, that would have been February 2020. So that preceded the March dump where Bitcoin went from 69,000 down to 30,000. And then this one right here on June 2018, that is when Bitcoin, well, let's see what it did. Started its cross down from about 7,000 down to 3,000. And then going back a little bit further, we had this cross in August 2014. And that is where Bitcoin, I said July 2014, right? January 2014. And Bitcoin goes from 380 down, all the way down to 156. So that was a pretty big retracement. Another thing to note I heard this morning was there's two ways that like an economic depression has started in the U.S. Two ways. One is the Fed raising interest rates, and two was the beginning of a war. Don't quote me on that one, but I know the first way. What, Rob? Do you got any input on that?
So say that question again.
Two ways an economic depression has begun in the U.S. First way is when the Fed starts raising interest rates. Second way is when we enter a war.
I haven't heard that, but isn't it 2 or 3 consecutive quarters of recession basically equals a depression or something like that? Well, while you're looking that up too, I heard something that I forgot to mention, but if China successfully takes over Taiwan with the, basically it's like Silicon Valley of the East. It's where all our chips are made. He thinks, and again, he's talking to a lot of Wall Street people that it could be a real threat to the U.S. dollar globally. Like it could potentially end the U.S. dollar as a global reserve currency.
Yeah, totally. And I think Putin and China are pretty, buddy. And I mean, it sounds like we're setting it up for World War III here. Unfortunately, we've got, gosh, I'm so sad about the. I hate to say anything, too negative about our president, because we got to pray for him and support him as much as we can. But it doesn't make good for, a weak leader in the time of war, right? Doesn't. Yeah,
there's just there's a power vacuum, because Putin would have never tried this with Trump.
Yeah, Trump, I would imagine would have already, we'd be launching bombs on Russia for doing, being crazy like this. But
and the sanctions aren't even legitimate, because it's like he's sanctioning a few of the powerful or the wealthy, 5 most wealthy names in Russia for this, with the SWIFT, our banking network.
And what I was hearing too is that, Putin has already well thought out this plan. It's not like he's just shooting off the cuff here, right? Like this was a military strike that he, had all intentions of doing and has been planning for probably months or years, if not, right? Mm-hmm. And he's prepared, if the U.S. sanctions Russia, Well, Russia is going to sanction the U.S. and
Well, that's the thing. If we go super hard against Russia and we basically cut them off from, energy, and we cut them off, and so if they're feeling an existential, because if we cut their ability to get their oil into Europe and those kinds of things, dude, that's a world war.
Well,
did you guys see what the Russian government said, that if the sanctions got too intense, they might have to seize $60 trillion worth of Russian assets from the people?
60 trillion?
Yeah, that's like Russia's total capital. It's.
I don't imagine that Russia has $60 trillion.
Like all the people. All the people.
Yeah, I don't see how they could have. That's more than our U.S. debt.
Let me try to pull it up for you.
Yeah, maybe we can.
Over on Bitcoin Twitter too, like the popular meme is that, you're seeing globally the case for Bitcoin is all this.
No, I mean, I was just thinking about that. What a case for all the people in Ukraine, right? The government just basically said you can only withdraw so much money, right? They've had a run on the banks. And, I hate to say this too, but let's say Putin says, screw you, SWIFT banking system. I'm going to use Ripple, right? Or I'm going to use whatever crypto I want to transfer money and do transactions. What would be stopping him from doing that?
Well, it would be Bitcoin, wouldn't it? Because most of the other cryptos flow through a centralized.
Well, I'm just using a hypothetical, because
but
Ripple,
they did make
Ripple's supposedly, God's gift to the SWIFT banking system, which we all know is archaic and, manipulated by the Fed. And,
Right.
I think
I just linked the article for you guys.
In the chat?
Yeah, I linked it in the chat.
Cointelegraph says, let's see here. Russia to seize retail deposits if sanctions go too far. So Russia, the largest bank, has denied its own supposedly false statement on being included in the U.S. sanctions list. So
that could be information warfare on our behalf, because that doesn't sound
true. Definitely true. Right. The spot to look out for in the article.
Yeah. So Hogan, 60 trillion rubles is more than $60 trillion.
Is less, right?
Yeah, it's less. Correct.
Yeah. Because it's not worth the same. So that's my bad. Misinformation.
Okay.
Yeah. The meat of the article.
Hogan spreading some FUD here, bro.
It does say, though, in the article, it says if all the foreign funds are blocked, the government will have no other choice but to seize all the deposits of the population, or 60 trillion rubles, in order to solve the situation.
So
super gnarly.
Yeah, if you're in Russia, you might want to have some Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
And I actually had a web developer. And anyways, we're getting sidetracked, so I'm gonna get back into some TA, and then we can wrap up the call. So we're looking at Bitcoin. Bitcoin is on a daily time frame. We talked about. Let's check in on CMEs, which is just looking absolutely awful here. And so again, if we do take out this low on CMEs at 33,000, I'm just going to draw out a little bit of a bearish retracement here and get us a target here. So, yep, that puts us right into this blue box territory, coming in at $25,000. Wow, that's pretty gnarly. So I don't know if I'd go. I don't think that's in the cards right now today. Again, a daily closure below here. I think first target gets hit at 29,000, unless open interest goes up significantly around that 13 to 14 billion. And why wouldn't it? I mean, why wouldn't people be shorting this market? And that would be more in line. Even if we come down to 20. Wow, that's 20%. So if we get down to 29.5, that's a 20% move on Bitcoin. And right there is 30%. So yeah, we'd want to see open interest tick up. Now, vice versa, if open interest kind of has a reset and goes down to about 9 billion or 8 billion, that's probably an indication we're probably going to get a bounce. So I'd be keeping an eye out on that as well. What else did we want to cover today? Funding rates. We talked about leverage. We talked about, okay, so let's take a look at some of the shorter term time frames, and then we'll wrap up Bitcoin for today. But overall, I'd say it's the expectation versus the reality. So if Biden comes out and sanctions are really bad and worse than expected, I'd say the market probably takes a leg down. If Biden comes out today and sanctions are, in a sense, limp-wristed and aren't as bad as expected, then I would say the market takes a leg up. Now, just checking in on some of the lower-term time frames, because I know some people are playing the bounce here. And we are getting rejected here right at the last kind of breakdown level. And I would say this, that Bitcoin currently at 35,880. And yeah, we need to get back above that critical level of 36.3, which is right about here on CMEs, on spot price action. Yeah, I'm just going to drop. Yeah, that's the major area that we just got rejected from. Need to get back above 36.3. I would even, 36.3. And that's what's going to prevent 5-day closure coming in today in about 6 hours and 29 minutes. That'll prevent momentum from going down on the 5-day. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if we do close below there and we do cross down. And that would, kind of be the worst case scenario coming in for next month. I would expect a bit more downside action.
Just quick question. So looking like macro with Bitcoin and this war and where Bitcoin follows the stock market, at what point do you think we could see a decoupling where the properties of Bitcoin, just like gold and silver, like where does that narrative, do you think that, what does that look like? It's curious to hear your.
Well, as much as we want to say Bitcoin is digital gold, I don't think that decoupling has actually happened yet. It's still trading almost 1-to-1 with the Nasdaq. So if you follow these two charts, they almost look identical, especially on the lower term time frames. See how the Nasdaq just popped up and it's rejecting this area right here? Well, if you look at Bitcoin, it's doing the same exact thing, right? It's popped up and it's rejecting this area right there. So until the decoupling happens, right, let the trend be your friend till the end of the trend, right? To answer your question, I'm going to remain alongside the trend until the trend changes. So I don't know how helpful that was. But just back onto the lower term time frames, any kind of a rejection here, any kind of a weakness, I wouldn't be surprised if we do a fib retracement from this breakdown level. You could take it from here, the breakdown level, or here. I would probably take it from there and just, you can see we're getting a bounce up to the 382. Now, that is called a weak bounce. So whenever the market bounces just up to the 382, or even the really the 382 or the 236, that shows extreme weakness, okay? And the bounce is basically failing. If you took it from this breakdown level we came right up to the 618, which is the bull trap area. This is on an hourly time frame. If we throw this up on a 2 hour, we are getting a bounce up to the 382, which is showing extreme weakness. And I'd say any kind of a rejection here is going to look bad. You'll have momentum to the downside, volatility expanding, and most likely trend continuation. So, yeah, all we didn't see here is we had these basically, we had 3 drives of bullish divergence, right? And again, what is bullish divergence versus bearish divergence? Well, bullish divergence is prices making lower lows and RSI is making higher lows. So why do I say we have 3 drives? Well, I think this goes back to here. Yeah. So you got 1, 2, 3, right? And on here, we've got the same thing. Sorry, that's not the right line. But you've got 1, 2, 3 higher lows in RSI while we've got lower lows in price. So that is bullish divergence, and that will give you a minimum move up to the 9 exponential. Typically on the 3 drives, I think you get a move up to the 21, which would be 37,000. But we're in a weak market, and you can see. So that's going to wrap it up for Bitcoin. Again, if you really want to wait for the momentous move on Bitcoin, in my opinion, again, this isn't financial advice. We're not a financial advisor. This is cryptocurrency land. And and what have we been talking about is this is either a daily closure below 33,000 or above 46. And that should get you the next pretty momentous move in either direction. And right now we are still maintaining the daily downtrend, and that's lower highs and lower lows. So that's going to wrap it up for Bitcoin. Let's move it on to a couple of altcoins, which I still get questions about. Mr. XRP. So sad that so many people are stuck in positions with XRP where they can't even get out if they wanted to right now because they're frozen on different exchanges. But what's the first thing I'm noticing here on the daily? We got a death cross, and we had price action sucked up into the cross and spit back out. So how would I be looking at this guy here for a next target to the downside? And this guy has been very weak, very, very weak, and is going to run into some major trouble, I'd say, with any kind of a daily closure back below 54 cents. And I mean, it might be going for the full retrace like we saw in 2018. So any kind of daily closure back below 55 cents, I would say, gets you a move back down to 34 cents. And to put that into measurement terms, that's a 37% move to the downside. Not looking too hot. Now, flip that around to the upside. Where's our invalidation? Well, any kind of a daily closure back above 90 cents, and you're going to get a move up to $1.12. This one has been relatively weak. Why do I say that? Well, if we pull this guy up, I don't think this is the longest standing chart on Ripple. Yeah, because it doesn't go back to prior to 2018. Let me see if I can find a better one here. XRP on Bitfinex. No. Is that the one I want? No. Let's see if it's Bitstamp. Okay. So, why do I say this coin is weak? When Bitcoin is making new all-time highs And this asset cannot even break its all-time high. It's weak. Very similarly to Litecoin. So that would be considered a weak asset in my book. And yeah, this thing could come all the way back down to about 19 cents. Any kind of a break below 11 cents, well, we're getting back into the less than a penny zone. Do I think that's happening today or tomorrow? No. Just kind of looking at the big picture here, right? So XRP not looking hot. Let's take a look at Mr. Cardano, another one that people love. They love to. Whoa. We did talk about this, and I did make a call on this. Any kind of a daily closure below 94 cents. And I believe people are going to want to get on the shorter side. Any kind of a daily. Oh my gosh. Look at that target. I don't even think you can get that low. Let me adjust this here. So let's go based off of bodies. And we already got the body closure below right here. That was your big sell right there. And that puts XRP down at 7 cents. Wow, I would love to put a bid in on XRP down at 7 cents. Or no, Cardano. That is absolutely nasty. I don't think if we do start to go, we probably get a nice bounce here at about 37 cents. But maybe I should look at a different chart. Let's see if there's a different chart. Maybe something. No, there's not going to be anything different. So Cardano, I'm sorry, guys. The old saying, Cardano, Alex Becker's favorite thing to talk about. If you own Cardano, like you better go ask your girlfriend's boyfriend like for a loan because you don't even have money for a ham sandwich right now. What else?
Eye-popping gains.
Eye-popping gains. Another one I've been keeping an eye on for a little bit of a short is GALA. GALA broke down pretty nice here, got rejected off the 21 and is being governed down by the 9. And I would say on a daily time frame, let's take a look. Where is basically this is the kill zone. Any kind of a daily closure below the prior breakout, if you want to be more conservative, something like 20 cents. But we got momentum to the downside. Volatility is contracting. And this thing just looks like it wants to come down with the rest of the metaverse because, these are risk-on assets. So I don't have much there. Let me see if I can pull up on the shorter-term time frames. And yeah, this does look like a rejection at the green 55. So price action gets bumped, bunched up right here. And then you get a retest of the green 55. And that is typically your sell. And then the next move down. Let's see if I can pull a fib target out here. But any kind of a closure below this low, I believe, is going to produce some divergences here on the hourly time frame. So where's our last kind of high right there? So yeah, so we've got bearish divergence coming from this point and this point. Let's see if I can draw it out for you guys, but that's where price is making. Sorry, that's hidden divergence. Yep. Hidden bearish divergence. Price is making lower highs and RSI is making higher highs. And so what is that going to be? There's your lower high. And then here is your higher high. And that's only one drive, right? So not to be quite the momentous move, but I would say that does give you a drive at least to the bottom side of the range at about 19.19362, whatever you want to call that. And yep. So all we want to do is see volatility start to increase here on the hourly. Let's see if we've got it on the 30-minute. And yes, in fact, we do. And we do have the same divergence playing out. That's significant. And usually, you know, your first pass at the bullish control zone is a rejection. And you could, I don't know if you could say that's, no, that is not. Yeah, that would be going back to this point as well. So yeah, there is some divergence playing out on Mr. GALA, and I'd say if the stock market wants to come down much more. So now I think we checked in our XRP, Cardano. Let's take a look at one more, Luna, which is, you know, really interesting fact about Luna. Got funded for, I think, about $1 billion. The news was yesterday. So it was rallying quite a bit until yesterday's close, where it got pretty much destroyed, the rally. And yeah, so here's was, and this is again kind of a perfect example of a buying opportunity, right? You get the silver cross right here, and then you retest the green 55, and that's typically going to be your sell. Or vice versa. You can see here all price action is priced up, bunched up here. You get a bit of a rally, and then you retest the green 55, and it works the same way to the downside. So we will kind of go over that in more detail over some time. But I would say, since we already did get a 4-hour open and closure below the green 55, this is just a pity bounce, in my opinion. Along with a lot of the other assets that got pity bounces. I don't know why the Dow is just getting absolutely creamed. So we took a look at oil. We took a look at the Dow. Let's just take a look at Nasdaq and what it's doing here. So as long as the 9 and the 21 are governing this guy, I would expect that we probably have some more downwards action. And you could front run that with any kind of a 4-hour closure back below 1300. And that should get you a move down to at least 12,500 with continuation over time. Let's look at the Dow, which is already leading the party to the downside on the daily time frame. Absolutely getting crushed here. Poor Mr. Dow Jones. Probably going to get a pity bounce from this area right here, but where is this consolidation move going to come from? So if you wanted to take it from this breakdown to that, your fib goes like this, right? So if you do a bullish retracement, you can see we got stopped out at the 618, which is so that's from that high to this low. We got rejected at the 618. That's your bull trap. And confirmation with a closer back below the 382, which got you a move back down to the bottom side of the range. But now we're going to take it from let's take it from this guy to this guy. So we've already hit the 1618 here, which is typically your bouncy area. So I'm taking it from this high to this low, right? And what's happening here? We're hitting the 1618. If we get a daily closure below that guy, the Dow, we're looking at 30,000 right there. And why do I say that's a reasonable target? Well, Nasdaq already had a 20% retracement, right? Nasdaq already, which is the only one getting a bit of a bounce today, a little bit of a relief rally because of the buy the dippers, right? But even it's in negative territory right now. And yeah, it's that the president, I heard another comment today. He said something about the president of Ukraine was saying, look, the United States doesn't respond right now, like significantly with, the war is going to be knocking on our doorsteps tomorrow. And I think that has some validity. So I'm hoping that U.S. steps it up here in their response. But
did you hear Putin's threat? He said he said that if anyone retaliates, I'm going to unleash something the likes of which the world has never seen.
Yeah, that was pretty gnarly. I don't
think this escalate quick.
Yeah, this could really escalate quick, and I don't think Putin is joking, right?
No.
Like they believe it's kind of like a pit bull. Once it gets in the ring, it's like it's ready to fight until it dies. They're gonna fight to the death. They're not trying to. They are not messing around, and maybe Biden knows that. Maybe he doesn't want to get in the ring. Maybe he's playing for the other team, huh?
Yeah. Well, I think that he's kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place because the midterms are coming up, and I can't imagine, a global conflict and a massive recession bordering on depression is going to help the Democrats' numbers.
Yeah. What else did we want to talk about here? I think that's going to wrap it up here for today, guys. We got Bitcoin stocks, dollar, oil. Oh yeah, the dollar. We didn't even look at the dollar. The dollar's rallying. Why is the dollar getting stronger right now? Well, bond yields are also going down. I've noticed that as well. And that's a flight to safety, right? People are selling stocks, going to bonds, right? They want to be in the US dollar. So that's, dollar up, bad for stocks, bad for Bitcoin. And gold here, again, keeping our eye on gold. Gold, well, that's a big wick. Look at that. All the way up to 1970. Wow. So again, on gold, we're just looking for a weekly closure above 1910. The week will close on Sunday, and it looks like we are going to get that. And that will give us our next target up to the highs. I'd say gold closes anywhere above here, and we will hit that $2,000 an ounce mark. Not going to be bad here. Let's look at silver. Silver needs to get back above 28 on a weekly closing basis. And silver should have a nice little run up to, I actually think silver will probably head up towards $40. If we can get a weekly closure, to be conservative, call it a weekly closure above 29. A weekly closure above 29, and I'm looking for this guy to hit at least $37 an ounce. And that is a pretty significant move. And, that's the old saying with silver is silver follows gold with more gains, right? Silver typically follows gold with more gains. So Bitcoin's digital gold, Ethereum is digital silver, some would say. And maybe take a look at Ethereum, right? Ethereum, I want to take a look here. And Ethereum is really getting shot down here. Any kind of a daily closure below, wow. I don't even want to look at this. That's a weekly. Okay, let's take a look at the daily. Hanging on by a thread here. But any kind of a daily closure back below there. And let's do a retracement here. From the wick to the wick. And $1,500 Ethereum in the cards. I want to see this on a monthly. And I want to see so momentum is coming down, getting kicked out of the bullish control zone on RSI. And our secondary indicators with the MACD. MACD cross to the downside. That is probably going to be, rather disappointing for Ethereum holders if that does happen. But it means buying opportunities for everybody that believes in Bitcoin and crypto long term, like I do. When the price goes down, it's just more opportunity. This is typically the best time. I mean, not right now or today, right? But when the price goes down, right, that's when you want to buy. When, the old Warren Buffett saying, be greedy when others are fearful, and you want to be fearful when others are being greedy. So should have some opportunity for life-changing wealth. If you do have some dry gunpowder on the sidelines, right, you're going to be able to take advantage of some very low prices on some excellent projects. Thank you guys so much for watching today. Remember, we're not financial advisors. We don't give financial advice. If you did enjoy our daily analysis, click the subscribe button below and get reminded of all the future daily videos we put out and the other resources we drop. Also, if you are interested in learning about how to incorporate Bitcoin or other cryptos in your IRA, there is a link in the description below. Thanks and have a blessed day.